Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I Overreacting and it's by user Pleasant Mission 63. Am I overreacting for calling off my engagement after my fiance admitted his family secretly tested me to see if I was a gold digger? I, 24 female, have been with my fiance, 27 male, for almost 4 years. He has a really well-paying job in tech and I make pretty average money. We've always split things fair and I've never asked him for expensive stuff or trips or anything. I honestly thought money was a non-issue for us. I never was interested in him for his money anyways. We genuinely clicked so well and I loved his personality. We are into the same nerdy things and his family seemed to really like me. I never thought I would have to worry about our relationship going south until now. A few days ago, my fiance sat me down and said he had something he wanted to tell me, and he was smiling like it was good news. He basically told me that his family has been secretly testing me for the last 11 months to make sure I wasn't a gold digger. He said they were worried I only liked him for his income and wanted proof before we got married. The test was that they all made it seem like he was struggling financially and might lose his job. His mom would casually bring up layoffs, his dad talked about how unstable tech is, and slowly it turned into he might actually lose his job, and you guys might have to really downsize. At one point, his mom even told me I should be prepared to financially help him if it came to that. I never wanted to bring up the possibility of a layoff for him because I didn't want to stress him out. I wanted to be prepared to support him if needed, so I started budgeting more, saving money, cutting back on random spending, skipping stuff I wanted, and just generally trying to prepare for the worst. I constantly reassured my fiance, encouraged him, told him we'd be fine, that I didn't care about money, that I just wanted us. But this whole thing was fake. His job was never in danger, his income never changed, there were no layoffs. His family literally planned this whole thing together. They kept it going for almost a year. Subtle comments made in passing to manipulate me and test me. Apparently, it all started because his older brother went through a really messy divorce. His brother now pays a ton of child support and his ex-wife got a lot of money in the divorce and his family fully blames her and thinks she was a gold digger. So now they're super paranoid about any women who dates one of her sons. The thing is, I've actually met his brother's ex-wife before. She was dropping off the kids at a family night and she seemed really nice and normal. I never once got gold digger vibes from her and honestly, it makes me uncomfortable how much they demonize her. My fiance said his parents finally told him that I passed and that they felt comfortable with him marrying me now. He said he wanted to tell me because he thought I'd be relieved to know he actually isn't struggled financially and that it shows how much his family cares about protecting him. Then he tells me that to celebrate, he upgraded our honeymoon to a nice luxury resort in Hawaii. I mentioned this resort when initially honeymoon planning, but deemed it too expensive to settle for the most modest option. But I feel weird about it. I don't want to be rewarded for being manipulated really well. Like, good job, we tricked you, and you were so gullible you believed it. Here's a nicer vacation. I told him I felt manipulated, embarrassed, and honestly humiliated that his whole family was watching my reactions and judging my character behind my back for almost a year. He said I'm looking at it wrong and that I proved I'm not with him for his money and that this should make me feel more secure in our relationship. I wish I could ask my family what they thought, but unfortunately my mom passed away 2 years ago and I don't have a relationship with my father. I'm feeling sad and lost because I don't have a reliable second opinion to lean on. His family had become my family. That's what makes this even harder. His family is acting like this is totally normal and that I should be proud of myself. His mom literally said, "Most girls wouldn't have handled that so gracefully." I told him I need space and I'm seriously considering calling off the engagement, but I honestly don't know what to do. I love him, and this is so out of left field. Now everyone is acting like I'm blowing this out of proportion and being dramatic. Part of me wonders if I am, but another part of me feels like my trust is completely broken. Am I overreacting? I'm not sure if tests like this are normal. I feel weird about it. I don't know. Please help. Well, OP, in my opinion and life experience, tests like these are not normal. They lied to you for over a year, and your fiance was in on it. He saw how his family lied to you. He lied to you because his brother had a bad divorce, and this is supposed to be some sort of a medal that you need to be proud of? Screw them, man. I understand you feeling hurt. They started on the premise that you cannot be trusted. After being in a relationship with him for 3 years and generating a bond with you. Now they're gaslighting you, telling you that you're blowing it out of proportion. You are owed an apology, not just from your fiance, but from the whole family. What a bunch of idiots. OP, if you were to end the relationship because of this, you would be absolutely justified and in the right to do so. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. I'm Andy Lee says, in their effort to prove that you are a morally decent person, they have proved that they are not. The last comment says, not overreacting, I would nope out of there, and here's why. He knew about it. He knew and he let it keep happening. He betrayed you. Crappy in-laws are one thing, but the person you trusted the most, he let this go on, allegedly until they were satisfied. You do not want to be tested the rest of your life. You do not want to be financially dependent on this man. What if you get pregnant, lose your job, etc.? Then the gold digger comments will ease their way back. You deserve better than this. You made efforts when you thought he was going to struggle financially, and based on their behavior, they would not do the same for you. Or if they did, there would be conditions and strings attached. I hope you find someone that respects you and doesn't put you through this BS. Also, if it was me, I'd leave just to prove once and for all, nope, I'm not a gold digger. In fact, I'm leaving. But maybe I'm spiteful that way. Land Ninja says, this is actually insane. It seems like your husband was giddy at the thought of everyone being able to manipulate you. Not overreacting, and I would reach out privately to the ex-in-law and ask her for her side of the story if you're able to. And OwnCat3340 says, not overreacting. Also, the way his entire family came together and made this happen says that if any issue arises in your marriage, his entire family will have no qualms whatsoever about abandoning you and siding with him. Have a disagreement about baby names? It's going to be his entire family against you. What to do for Thanksgiving? His entire family will decide. This man didn't step up for you once in that entire testing period. He is not the one you want to make a life with. OP's edit. A couple people are asking why he didn't just ask for a prenup. We actually did discuss this before we got engaged, and I told him I would be open to a prenup. I brought this up when he confessed, and he said he wasn't necessarily worried about divorce. The whole thing was about testing my character and making sure I was a morally good person before he married me. It doesn't make much sense to me and feels like his whole family went way out of their way to do some stupid morality test. I've never even given the indication that I'm shallow, so it really hurts. I just think they are suspicious of any outsiders who come into their family. Also, I misspoke when I said the Hawaii resort was all-inclusive. I guess I've used that word interchangeably for describing a really nice resort. Well, the community agrees that OP was not the a-hole and that this whole thing is stupid and that she should just run away. So now, let's move on to the first of 2 updates to see what happened next. Thank you for all your comments. It means a lot to have so much support and validation. I knew right away deep down that this was wrong, but I needed validation, as bad as that sounds. I don't have close family or many friends, so hearing that my feelings are normal makes me feel less alone. This happened a couple of days ago. I'm still staying with my fiance right now, but things are tense and I feel anxious pretty much all the time. He knows I'm upset and knows I need space, so he hasn't tried to talk about it since. He knows I'm considering calling off the engagement, which is why I think he's been so sensitive around me the last few days. He hasn't been acting like it's a positive thing anymore and seems pretty remorseful since I told him how much it hurt me. This morning I asked him if he knew about it the whole time, and he told me that his parents started making the comments without his knowledge, and after he overheard a comment they made to me while over at his parents' house, he asked them privately why they said that, and they explained they were testing me. He decided to let them continue just to see what I would do. From past interactions with his parents, I also know he has a hard time standing up to them or disagreeing with them, so it honestly makes sense that he didn't call them out and just started going along with it. They told him that they were offended when I suggested an expensive resort for the honeymoon and made a comment insinuating that his parents would be paying for it. They got it in their head that I just expected them to shoulder the cost of an expensive resort without question, which isn't true. I happily accepted for a more modest option when they suggested it, because I don't want to seem pushy or entitled. Plus, typically the groom's family pays for the honeymoon, so I didn't know they were offended by that. Maybe I really did come off as entitled, but that was honestly never my intention. Regardless, I don't think that justifies testing me like this. He wasn't the mastermind, but he never stopped them and didn't see why it was wrong or manipulative until I told him how upset I was. A part of me wonders if he was manipulated by his parents to think this was acceptable. I'm torn between calling it off or having a conversation with him and asking him to go to couples counseling, plus set serious boundaries with his parents. I also see some suggestions recommending that I talk to his brother's ex-wife. I think that's a good idea, but I'm honestly really nervous about it. I don't have her number, but I follow her on Instagram, so I'm considering DMing her and asking to call her. I'm pretty overwhelmed with the attention this post is getting, but I'm super appreciative of everyone's support and love. I think I have realized I have a people-pleasing tendency and a need to keep the peace, but I'm trying to force myself to break out of that. It's all just really scary and I feel really lonely. My natural inclination is to forgive and forget so that I can still have a family. I know that's not the best idea. I know change needs to happen. I'm still figuring out where to go from here. Well, then let's not waste any time and move on straight to the final update to see how this story ends. Well, my fiance found this post. Honestly, I feel pretty stupid for thinking he wouldn't find it. I didn't expect this post to get as much attention as it did, so thank you all for that, but I was extremely detailed, which was kinda dumb. He saw the post and immediately clocked that I wrote it. He came to me yesterday with the post, and I was super afraid he would be angry, but he was actually very understanding. He said reading the comments was super eye-opening to him on just how messed up this situation was. He feels bad that he ever even tried to spin this in a positive light. We had a pretty deep conversation and he came to realize that he has been manipulated very heavily by his parents and family. When his parents justify something, even if it's bad, his brain will immediately try to justify it too because differing opinions were not allowed in his household growing up. The whole situation has started to the realization for him that he grew up in a manipulative and emotionally abusive household, but was never given a space to realize it because they had an extreme us versus them mentality. So even when an extremely normal and well-intentioned person comes into the family, also known as me and his brother's ex, they will do anything they can to invalidate their character because they are uncomfortable with outsiders. I have learned a lot about myself through this situation as well. First of all, I'm emotionally vulnerable and need therapy bad. My need to belong has caused me to stay in situations that are unhealthy for me just because I'm so desperate for a family. I know that's bad and I know it will be hard, but I want to change. With that being said, even though my fiance was very remorseful and apologetic, I told him I want to call off our wedding and take a break from our relationship. We both have issues we need to work on by ourselves before we consider joining in marriage. I want to figure out who I am without someone to lean on, as painful as that may be, and he needs to seriously evaluate his relationship with his family and how they have affected him. I told him that if in the future we find ourselves emotionally healthy and the timing works out, maybe we can be together again. But for right now, that's not the case, so we need to go our separate ways. We still live together and I don't exactly have anywhere to go, so my fiancé said he will move out and try to find other living arrangements. He will pay his portion of the lease until I find another roommate. Again, thank you all for your comments and support. They mean a lot to me. Well, Opi, I think you both are making the right and healthy choice for each of you. And who knows, maybe in the future if you're both emotionally well at the same time, you'll be together again. If not, it wasn't meant to be. So on that note, here's wishing you the best on your individual journeys. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user One Dodgy Bollock. Treat me badly, then expect me carry on as if nothing happened? Okay. I work in the public sector, and although the pay grade for trainers is one grade above me, I have occasionally stepped in and delivered training for many years because of my experience and knowledge. Each time, I have had a small financial reward. A recent restructure in which my department was going to be selected as a central hub meant that several new recruits were employed, and I was called upon to deliver group training. The first group training session was successful. My recruits were engaged, hardworking, and pleasant to train. The next group, however, were a nightmare. Trainees rolled in late, others were disruptive, and I caught two messing with their mobile phones on several occasions. I reported this all to my manager, who basically said, they're just young, keep going, you're doing fine. Great, thanks for your support, boss. After a particularly trying week with them, where I'd had to restart sessions due to lateness, stop them looking at their phones, and repeatedly call the damn room to order, I was reaching the end of my tether. Then, when two of the recruits decided to argue with me about something I was teaching them, telling me that, despite my in-depth knowledge of the subject, I was wrong, I snapped. I'm not proud for losing my temper, but it was ridiculous. I shouted at them that I was the bloody trainer, and at the same time, I slammed the training material I was holding on the floor. It made an impressive bang and the room went silent. Then two of them accused me of behaving inappropriately and stormed out of the room. I apologized to them as they left, angry with myself for letting them get to me. I then decided to see my manager to update him, but as I approached his office, I could see my trainees were already with him, complaining to him about my attitude. I had grabbed the training materials they were arguing with me about. And knowing that my manager would see they were wrong if he saw it, I walked into his office, straight past them, and handed the materials to my boss, saying, "You'll need this." Then I go back to the training room. The other trainees had gone. So I packed up my stuff and decided to go home as it was close to my normal leaving time. As I was about to go, a higher manager came in and then spent the next 10 minutes shouting at me about appropriate conduct. I was astonished. She wouldn't listen to my side of the story, basically saying I was expected to behave in an acceptable manner. The fact that I had handed my manager the training materials and that the conduct of my trainees was appalling mattered not. I told her I wouldn't be training this group anymore, and she just replied, "Oh, I know," as if the decision had nothing to do with my opinion. In short, I was relieved. I was glad to be away from the idiot fest and glad I could go back to leaving at my usual time rather than an hour or two later because I had to accommodate latecomers. In the following week, I discovered that because the group had made a complaint about me, the higher manager had begun a gross misconduct case against me. Great, 5 against 1. I was suddenly staring potential dismissal in the face, despite an even higher manager getting involved and putting a stop to the gross misconduct proceedings. She's a new manager and she's just inexperienced. I remained furious. Even when the manager came to me with a groveling apology and telling me she had overreacted, I was angry at the lack of support I had had from the get-go, how my concerns had been brushed aside and how a bunch of literal children had been supported over me. I went back to my usual duties and tried not to dwell on what had happened. A few weeks later, it was decided that we were taking on more recruits and more training was needed. The manager who had started the gross misconduct proceedings came over to me with a big smile on her face. "We are having a load of new recruits starting in the next 2 weeks, so I've booked the training room for you." I looked at that crap-eating grin, returned it with a bigger smile, and replied, "No can do." "I'm sorry?" she responded. "I'm not a trainer. See someone a grade above me," I replied, walking away. The look on her face was priceless. She couldn't do a damn thing to make me do the training. Over the following few weeks, the department had to drag another manager in from another area to run the training, resulting in delays and extra cost. That manager's knowledge isn't as extensive as mine, which means there have been some costly errors, and now we are overwhelmed by complaints. Treat me like crap? That's the price you pay. absolutely in your right, OP, all the way. You are not a trainer. They can't force you to do it. Besides, the last time they didn't have your back, so screw them. Nicely done, OP. Thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy.